Grief can make you angry, a loneliness can confuse desire, and growing up sometimes means loving the wrong person for the right reason. The film, The Battle Within, is a quiet but powerful coming of age story about loss, family, forbidden longing, and forgiveness. Kenny is a teenage boy still broken by the death of his mother. Her absence fills every corner of the house. Her silence echoes in every conversation. His father tries to move forward. He begins a new relationship, hoping to rebuild some sense of normalcy. But for Kenny, this feels like betrayal. Loving again means forgetting. Smiling means replacing. Moving on means abandoning his mother's memory. Kenny's grief turns into anger. He lashes out at his father through cold words, silence, and open hostility. Their house becomes a battlefield of unspoken pain. Then, something unexpected happens. Kenny begins to notice his father's new partner. At first, it's just a curiosity, a presence in the house, a reminder that life is moving on without his permission. But slowly, that curiosity turns into fantasy. In his imagination, she becomes comforting, understanding, and emotionally safe, not from desire alone, but because she represents the security his mother once gave. Kenny is terrified of his own thoughts. He is guilty for betraying his father, ashamed for betraying his mother, confused by emotions he doesn't understand. His inner conflict pulls him apart. He wants to protect his family, yet his emotions keep crossing invisible lines. The film never turns sensational. Instead, it stays intimate and painful, showing how grief can twist love into something confusing. Eventually, Kenny is forced to confront the truth. His fantasies are not about the woman herself. They are about loss, longing, and emotional survival. In the end, Kenny doesn't act. Instead, he lets them go. He finally sees his father not as a traitor, but as a man grieving in his own way. Forgiveness doesn't erase loss, but it allows healing to begin. Kenny takes his first real step into adulthood by choosing understanding over resentment. Silence broke him as a child. Desire confused him as a teenager. And now, let's move to our next story. What happens when a father becomes jealous not of another man, but of his own 7-year-old son? In this film, a quiet family moment turns into a psychological nightmare where love, attachment, and cruelty collide, leaving a child emotionally scarred forever. The film introduces a small family, a man, his wife, and their 7-year-old son. On the surface, everything appears normal, but beneath the silence, something feels wrong. The father begins to observe the bond between his wife and their son. What should feel natural, a mother's affection, slowly starts to disturb him. He watches their closeness, the connection they share from which he feels excluded. In the father's mind, this intimacy turns into suspicion. Instead of confronting his wife directly, he focuses his anger on the child. One day, a small incident occurs, something minor, possibly a misunderstanding. The child believes he made a mistake, but the father refuses to accept this. He forces the boy to confess again and again. Not that he did something wrong, but that he did not make a mistake. This demand is confusing and cruel. The child doesn't understand why he's being punished, why his truth is no longer enough, why he must deny his own perception. The father's authority becomes violent, not through physical blows, but through psychological pressure. The mother watches silently, torn between protecting her child and submitting to her husband. Her silence becomes part of the harm. Overwhelmed and terrified, the child finally breaks and repeats what the father wants to hear. Not because it's true, but because obedience becomes survival. The film ends quietly, but the damage is done. The child survives the moment, but loses something important, the right to trust his own truth. The burn doesn't fade. And that's all for this short movies review. If you want more details, please check out the video description. Thank you.